Give us excited for the next one. Like, you're really excited. You're so excited. All right, give us scared.
3.
You're freaking out.
Hello. Wow. I can't beat that as an intro. No, that was the best. No. You were the least scared out of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you were just
Damn.
like, hey.
Damn.
Hello, lovely to meet you.
So, there's nothing you like about this place? Nothing.
First of all, Adrian and Joe, like, congratulations. This is such an incredible, like, first feature debut, and also your, like, first leading role, I think.
First leading role.
Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, what a film to do both. So exciting. Now, one of the great pleasures, I think, with horror movies is learning the rules. You know, I think all great genre horror films have rules, and you kind of adhere to them, and learning them as an audience member is so fun. And I really love the logic in this film of how the monster operates. It's this thing that can only hurt you when you're alone. Where did that come from?
For me, I mean, the film is sort of exploring homophobia as a monster, and I think for me, I know that for a lot of young queer people, and I know from my own experience, you kind of, like, being alone is quite an important thing. Like, no one can hurt you if you're alone with your own identity and your own feelings. And so for this monster to actually come into that safe space, into that sanctuary, just felt really terrifying. It took me a while to land on that, actually. In the early drafts of the script, it was like, when does it emerge? Does it emerge in darkness, or does it emerge when there's certain sounds happening, or when you think of a certain memory? But then I just sort of landed on this idea of it's when you're alone, and there was a lot to play with in terms of shooting scenes in crowded spaces or not crowded spaces. So yeah.
Joe, how was that for you, from someone who has, you know, also performed in horror before, where there is a crowd and there are, like, terrifying things happening, but to be alone and channel that horror? What was that like?
Well, I mean, like, just me as a person, like, I don't really like being alone, like, by myself, because I just like hanging out with other people and whatever. So I feel like I definitely related to that aspect of, like, you know, like, it's like you're alone with your own thoughts, but then you can't be anymore because you have to be with someone in this, like, context. But yeah, I mean, I guess, like, in Talk to Me, like, my character's a bit more reactive in terms of, like, the horror sequences in the film. And then I guess, you know, coming into Leviticus, it's, you know, a bit more internal and a bit more, like, because I guess the film is from my name's perspective, so it's kind of like the emotions that my character goes through then feeds the audience in a way, you know. And I think, you know, we were just making, like, even with the certain camera angles that you'd shoot in certain ways to kind of convey that. Yeah.
How did you do that kind of tightrope that you walk, where the public and alone and name is very different in both settings, like in the church setting, in the school setting, to him in his bedroom, or him walking by himself? What was that like to kind of tightrope walk that?
Yeah, well, I think, you know, I remember, like, me, Stacey, and Adrian, like, talking about how when these boys are together, you know, there's not anyone that is around to bring them, like, you know, it's a very, like, you know, towards the start of the film when it's just, you know, them hanging out, it's like shows that, you know, they're comfortable with each other, and that, you know, it's not that they're just two boys just looking to find a connection, right? And then, you know, when it's like the school scenes, for example, you know, it's just that added layer of, okay, there's people around now. You know, and how is that going to affect the choices you make, and, you know, how you know, walk in the scene, how you even look at other people. And I, you know, what's great about Adrian, it's like, I feel like whenever I wasn't getting something, I'd be like, Adrian, like, and I need help, and, you know, he would just tell me something and automatically click, and it's like always good. I feel like I found, like, my artistic soulmate in a way, and it's like, cool. You know, it just meshes together. Yeah.
Where did those, like, instinctual, I guess, instincts come from for you? Is that something that, like, you'd lived through, or other people's stories to assist?
A bit of both. Yeah, I think so. And also, I don't know, it's a mixture of real life, and also you watch a lot of films and you think about, like, what is the feeling that we're going for? Like, what's the real feeling we're going for in terms of what I've experienced or people I know experience, and then how do we translate that into something that people can actually see and hear on screen?
I guess that I love that idea of being alone, and that's when everything happens, the horror, the drama. And you take this town, which is quite, you know, generic looking regional town.
Yeah.
You made it feel so empty and so cold. I felt cold, like maybe it was just the air conditioning, but everybody is wearing sweaters. I'm not sure if it's just a cold location, but it felt like such a cold film. And there's so much separation, like screen doors, there's broken windows. I'd love to know, is that something that you were really adamant about with your DOP, or something that you designed?
Well, we shot it in winter, so it was also very cold light. You know, it was a low winter sun the whole time. But I think the coldness as well, it came through in the sound. Like it was Jed Cazell's score as well, just added to that. Like even in the happy moments of, you know, there was a sort of, I guess you'd call it like a love theme that he had for the moments where the boys are happy. Even in that, there was sort of something that conveyed that sense of a very cold world.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was in both the sound and the image.
So effective. Also, this is obviously a part of the horror genre, but I do think it's equal parts romance and coming of age. And I'm so curious about how both of you balanced that, because there's such a wide gamut of emotions that all these genres play with, but it never seems to kind of stray. It always feels like all of those. Was that conscious? Was that something you worked hard for?
Well, I feel like whenever I would talk to like my friends would ask like, oh, what are you filming? It's like, I wouldn't even say it was a horror film. Like I would say, you know, it's a horror, it's a drama, it's a romance, it's coming of age, it's, you know, film about identity. It is a lot of things, but it's cool because they all coexist and like, you know, like they all work together, right? And it just creates this beautiful story.
Ryan, you okay? You see anything that looks like me? Don't go near it.
I think that went all the way through to the edit. So when I worked with our editor, Nick Fenton, we sort of were constantly thinking, you know, okay, this first act, this first 25 minutes, when do we start feeling the horror? How long do we linger on this love story? Sort of a lot of scenes came in and then went out and then came back in again. So it was just a constant balance through the whole process. Yeah.
Really, really love the Deliverance healer scenes. And obviously you have Nicholas Hope, an absolute
iconic
goat of genre cinema. That must have just been an amazing couple days or however.
And he brought so much to it, didn't he? Like the first rehearsal, the first meeting I had with him, he came in and he had this whole backstory. I mean, this character doesn't even have a name in the script. And he came in with this whole backstory and he figured out why the guy had all those tattoos on him. He said, I really want to have like the number of the Leviticus quote. I think it's 1822. And then he was like, where do we put that? And I was like, oh, have you seen Night of the Hunter? Maybe we could put it like on the knuckles. He's like, yeah, I love that idea.
Night of the Hunter, yes.
Yeah. So he's sort of like, we sort of like really got along and kind of jammed a lot over those ideas and what we're going to do with that character, even though he's only in 2 scenes.
Yeah,
so,
2 scenes.
But he's just like so impactful, you know?
Yeah.
Like
when he comes out to the car, he's staring at it. It's just like, this is the most horrifying person I've ever seen.
Yeah, next I remember I was watching it with my mum, and when mum like saw Nick like just standing in the background, she's like,
incredible.
She like looks at me like that. She looks at me like that. She's like, are you about to get like whatever? And I'm like,
and you don't even see it, you just go away.
He was so
effective.
invested. Nicholas Hope, do you remember when we were shooting that scene where you're in the car?
Yes.
And Nicholas Hope's way off screen, he's just inside, like he's way off screen with the extras who are playing the guys that drag out of the car.
Or something. Yeah.
And I could hear him in the microphones, he's still mic'd up and he's there like he's talking to those guys. He's like going, we're gonna get that demon out, boys. Like he was staying in character, fully the camera was nowhere near him and he was fully committed like in the scene. It was just quite scary actually.
And it was like quite a contrast then, like, because I remember like sometimes on the days he was filming, like we'd drive home with him, like him, and it was like me, Stacey, DeVita, or Jeremy, and it's like he's just such a lovely, nice
he's
guy
so warm, isn't
after
he?
just terrorizing us.
He's Bad Boy Bobby, but he's also Bad Boy Bobby.
Yeah.
I love the reverse exorcism. We're so used to kind of seeing something being expelled from a person, generally a young person, in these, you know, there's such a history of exorcism films. But I really love the idea of putting the opposite. You're putting something in. Where did that come from?
It's so funny you say that because I knew that I wanted to do a horror movie about these themes, and I had heard about for many years and read about exorcisms performed on LGBT teenagers all around the world in lots of different cultures. And at first I thought maybe I'll do a horror movie that's like The Exorcist, but it's got this queer theme to it. But every variation I came up with seemed to only justify the belief that was that they were putting out there, right? So I thought, well, why don't I start thinking about whatever the opposite of that is? And that's where I sort of started to land on this idea of the monster that takes the form of the person.
Just this little tweak, it just changes everything. It's so clever.
Yeah.
100%. This guy's just like a genius.
I want to ask about that final needle drop.
Yes, yeah.
Self-Control, one of the great songs of all time. And Frank Ocean's is somebody who just kind of willy-nilly says, okay, you can use my song. I want to know, was that song non-negotiable for you? Like, is that what you wanted to leave the film on, that emotional note?
I think I had always thought of that song. I think I was a bit scared to suggest it at first. I was like, who the hell am I to try and get a Frank Ocean song? But towards the end...
How do you find Frank Ocean?
Exactly. We had an amazing sound supervisor, Andrew Kitako, who got in touch with him. And he said, write him a letter. So I wrote a letter to Frank Ocean and I explained, this is a film that, it's a horror movie, but it's really a love story, and it's really, I hope, a celebration of queer love. And I talked about the fact that actually his music was a really big part of our process. You had a lot of his songs on your playlist.
Yes.
When you were
Really?
getting
You had a
ready.
playlist for
Yeah. I mean, Self Control is actually like at the top of that playlist. I don't know, I'm just a big like Frank Ocean fan, and
I
I
just
don't know.
got
I feel
goosebumps
very
in that
like
scene.
honored to have his song in a a film I'm in. Like it's crazy.
It's insane.
you
It's
know?
such a blessing. Like he's blessed it. He's like, yeah, I approve.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's
pretty
amazing.
much, yeah.
So you sent him the script. Did you send him?
Not even anyway. Just I sent him a letter. I think he might have seen the scene. I don't know if he saw the film. I don't know.
Frank
I sent
Ocean might have seen me before. Is that what you're
maybe.
saying?
Yeah. Who knows? Can you imagine? Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot easier to see you than Frank Ocean. You know, that guy he could be in this room right now. We
That's
wouldn't
right,
know.
yeah.
What do you hope a young queer person takes away from watching this film?
I hope they find like maybe a sense of like comfortability with something, and like maybe I hope it like goes to show that they're not alone, and that a lot of people go through the same stuff as them, and that there is light on the other side.
Yeah, and I hope, without giving too much away, I hope they fully understand the choice that Joe's character makes at the end, that in the face of
Adversity.
that he's still choosing to be with this person.
It's the only time I felt warm in the movie. That bus, the sun was coming in. It was beautiful. Well, guys, thank you so much
Thank you.
for chatting.
This was
It was
great.
so cool to meet
This
you
was
both.
great.
Loved
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.